Hey everybody, Greg Pruett here with episode 3 of Dispatch Direct, recapping some of our latest news articles here on the Idaho Dispatch. Before we get into the two main stories that we've covered lately that have caused a little bit of stir, we wanted to talk about some of the stuff we had posted on social media, in addition to an email that we sent out talking about investigative reporting here in the state of Idaho. One of the questions we asked on Facebook and X was, are you satisfied with the state of the mainstream media's investigative reporting when it comes to local government or allegations of local government corruption? Overwhelmingly, the answer was, what coverage, what investigative reporting? Now, I'm not saying that the local media outlets haven't done it, but it's definitely been our experience that many of them won't cover a lot of these allegations of corruption. And whether that's because they know people in these cities, towns, or whatever, they don't want to rock the boat. I don't really know. It definitely comes with risk when you start doing that kind of stuff. And so I don't know why. But for the Idaho Dispatch, that was one of the main things that we wanted to do was, number one, give all sides a voice, especially conservative voices, because a lot of conservative voices were left out of mainstream media stories. But the other was to do what the media was really meant to do, which was focus on what is happening within government. And if there's corruption, that kind of stuff, then you're supposed to shed light on it and let the public determine, from that, what they really want to do. So, but again, with the Idaho Dispatch, it's tough. It's a lot of work. It's easy to kind of pump out some of the more political stories. Like John Bolton, for instance, was one of the stories we had out today, and his home being raided or whatever by the FBI. That kind of stuff is fairly easy to pump out quick. However, the investigative work takes days, and most of the time it takes weeks to really dig in and try to get all sides, and then you're trying to verify stuff. I mean, it just takes a really long time. And we get a ton of those tips. But as I've told people, I run the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, which is already more than a full-time job, because I basically do it on my own, minus some help I get from my family. And so then I'm also, been running the Idaho Dispatch since 2020. It took a break there in between, but I'm back to doing that. And guess what? I do all the work. I do all the normal political stories, and I also do all the investigative work. And so between those, the ISA and the Dispatch, it's a ton of work. And, the Dispatch is slow growing. People don't want to support independent journalism by and large. I mean, some people do, and we have some great subscribers with Idaho Dispatch. But I'm like, okay, guys, we got to get to a point where the Dispatch, maybe I'm just doing the editing, and all we do is hire, we've got a couple people working that are able to do the investigative work. And that way it alleviates, me trying to do everything all on my own, which is what I've been doing for years. And so if that's the stuff that's really important to you guys, and here's the thing, what I'd asked people before, would you be sad if the Dispatch left? Would you, is it important? And a lot of people said, yeah, we need to get into these investigative stories and do all this work. Well, that's great. But again, that's where capitalism comes in, right? We've got to build something. Look, even if it's not me, we'd have to have somewhere to take all of these tips. And right now there's nothing that I would go, okay, the Dispatch is gone. Let's go ahead and do this. And so, look, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep dragging and fighting and trying to provide you guys information. Look, we don't put it behind a paywall. I don't want to put it behind a paywall. I don't want to do, hey, you read 3 free articles and now you don't get to read anything. Some of these stories are way too important to put behind a paywall. And so we've made it $2.97, $6.97, $9.97. It's basically the same thing. It's just what level you're comfortable, trying to support us. So $3 a month, you can support the Idaho Dispatch. We had 1,000 of those every month, and we'd be able to definitely hire some people and all that good stuff. Or if you advertise, if you have a company or an organization you want to advertise with us, a lot of that is because we're statewide. We're trying to say, hey, you can advertise with us, and you're supporting the real thing there is you're supporting independent journalism. You're supporting the fight against what the mainstream media has done in Idaho, which is extremely left-leaning stuff. And we're just trying to say, let's just put all the sides out there. And sure, it may have a conservative slant, but we're going to try and put all the sides out there and give everybody their voice. So if you do want to support us, there's a link down below there, scrolling across the bottom, and you can go ahead and support us. And you can also just do a one-time donation if you want to do that. So, all right, excuse me. The two stories the one about Nampa in particular got a ton of talking because pay raises have been a big issue this year, and the Nampa City Council they had a vote the other night where they approved their budget, and part of that was a pay increase for the city council and a pay increase for the mayor. Now the mayor is Debbie Kling. She is not running for re-election, and so she won't see the pay raise because it won't go into effect until next year. And the city council members, I guess some of them will definitely see it because they don't have to, they're not all running at the same time, but the ones that are running for re-election may or may not see it depending on if they win their re-elections. So the city council went from their current salary was $10,930, and that has been bumped up. It's a part-time city council. Okay, so it's not full-time like you would see in California with a lot of really big cities. And that bumped up to $18,930. That was the 73.19% increase. Some people thought, yeah, the percentage doesn't really matter. It's only, $8,000, $9,000, $8,000 extra dollars. Not really that big of a deal. Some people said, hey, no, the percentage is a big deal because it's a part-time gig. Okay. The mayor's salary is increasing from $110,510.40 to $135,000, or a 22% increase. So there was a lot of reaction to the increase, and city council member Jangula said in a comment online that the quote, Nampa City Council is grossly underpaid compared to other councils. We have not seen a change in wages since 2008. If you want good people to dedicate the time and effort it takes, you need to make it somewhat worth their time. So now, people have had various reactions to that. Some people were supportive of her thing, going, okay, well, if they haven't had a raise since 2008, and it's only $8,000, then maybe that's okay. Where some people said, maybe you should have just done more incremental pay raises over the last, however many years, 15 years or whatever. But rather than trying to do 70% all at once, it should have been 3% here, 5% there, or something like that. So definitely a lot of reaction to that. But there's been, quite a few disputes and debates and everything else over pay raises within government. Quite a bit. I know Starr and I think Pocatello and the legislature and have had pay raises, and I know there's a committee, I think, that's still wants to give the governor a mansion and all this stuff. And so it's been, I don't think I've seen more debate about pay raises in my time following Idaho politics than I have this year. So that was kind of the big story out of the last couple days, on top of the John Bolton national story. The other one comes out of there's a lawsuit in Wallace, Idaho. If you don't know where Wallace is, it's way up north. It's, oh gosh, I'm going to forget the name of the movie. There was a movie filmed there, the volcano movie. I don't remember. Dante's Peak, I believe, was filmed there. At least parts of it were filmed there. And I remember watching that movie as a kid and loving those, disaster movies or whatever. But the town has like 820 people, 860 people out. It's less than 1,000. But there is a up to $50 million lawsuit that has been filed against the city, the county, and it primarily deals with blocked road access to some property that an individual named Ryder, I think it's Gautreaux, and then Chuck Jones purchase some property, about 536 acres up in Wallace, and there is a dispute over access to that property. The partners, they believe they're business partners, and so they say that they got the property from I think about 3 individuals in total. And by the time they had closed the property in August of 2020, a few weeks later, they said that the road was blocked to get to their property. Okay, that's the allegation, that the city blocked the road, and that's led to quite honestly, this is one of those things that we're investigating. There's a lot of allegations about a lot of issues up in Wallace, and so we're trying to just start unpacking all of the things that have been alleged, not only in the lawsuit, but other allegations. And so, but it really pertains to a dispute over access to this property on top of some other stuff. The city, the county, everybody in their response to the lawsuit said that they've done nothing wrong and that there's no evidence that they've done anything wrong. And so this will be an interesting story, I think, as we start to unpack all the things surrounding this from both sides. It will be a lot of information, but this is the kind of stuff that the Idaho Dispatch is dropped in our lap from people all across the state. Hey, this thing has happened in my county. This thing has happened in my city. This thing is happening here. And you just sit there. And for me, it's just me by myself trying to figure out, okay, is there a story here or not a story? If there is a story, what kind of evidence is there to support what is being alleged against these government officials or whoever? And so we have to sit there and unpack all of that. And by we, I mean me. And so it takes a lot of work. It's a ton of work. I mean, this one in particular, I've been sitting here trying to sift through documents and all sorts of stuff and try to get a grasp and an understanding of what is being alleged by a number of individuals up in the Wallace area. So this is the type of stuff that the Idaho Dispatch wants to try and look into on behalf of Idaho citizens who are making these allegations. And so with this particular story, you'll have to kind of watch and see kind of some other stuff that comes out. They originally were trying to get this road validated, and the county was like, well, it's not. It's in the city, so it's outside our jurisdiction. And a judge a couple weeks ago kind of agreed with that and said, no, yep, it's not the county's responsibility, because basically from what we understand, or what the judge may say, it's inside the city limits. And so it would be a city road, and that access to this road, and there's dispute over whether it's really a road or not a road, but the access to that there was barriers, literal barriers put up to stop anyone from using this access. Okay. So, and then there was another access point that was also basically vacated to several property owners in the area, which would have been the only other access allegedly that these two guys could have had to get to this property. So that's like the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg on just a lot of stuff that we have heard over the last month. So that's the latest, guys, that I have on for the Dispatch Direct. This is episode 3. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or whatever, you can always shoot me an email, which is greg@idahodispatch.com. One of the better ways. If you drop stuff in the comments or reach out through social media, a lot of times I'm just really busy and I don't always see that stuff. So anyway, appreciate you guys tuning in. Take care. God bless.